Hi, it's Kelly from paperbeadrollers.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make this lovely paper bead flower pendant. And we are going to use the center from the snowflake ornaments we made last holiday season to make something for summer. Absolutely love it when you can use things for multiple purposes. Now you can get these at paperbeadrollers.com, and they're in multiple spring and summer colors. So in addition to the gold, silver, and white that we had for the holidays, we now have multiple shades of pink, we have some purples, and we have yellow, which is what I'm gonna use in the tutorial you're about to see right now. So let's get making. Here's what you'll need. You'll need one of my ornament centers. Now I'm going to use the yellow one for the center of my flower, but we've got all of these colors for you to choose from. You'll need 6 cone-shaped paper beads and 42 6mm round paper beads. I'm going to show you how to make these in a minute. You'll need wire, 16 gauge or smaller, color of your choice, of course, some jewelry pliers. Now, I used a ring sizer to help shape my wire into the petal shape, but you can use anything you have that is about 1/4 inch round. You can even use the handle if you have my wooden set of paper bead rollers. It's about 1/4 inch. And of course, you'll need a paper bead roller. I use the blue 1/8 inch size. You'll also need some white glue, some hardening glaze like Deco Arts Triple Thick, along with some skewers and a brush. First, you'll need to cut your strips. Now, like I said earlier, I use the 6mm perfectly round templates at paperbeadrollers.com. But as long as your finished paper bead is in the neighborhood of 6mm, it doesn't need to be exactly round. You could also mix in seed beads or other types of beads to make your flower unique. The first thing I'm going to do is address the white core on this paper. So because the purple is so dark, the white edges on these paper strips are going to show up in my final beads. I'm just going to hit the edges for each strip with a purple Sharpie. It's a little time consuming, so I don't do it every time I make beads, but in this case, it does make a big difference in the look of the finished project. If you've never rolled paper beads, I'm going to show you the process. Insert the wide part of the paper strip into the slot on your paper bead roller. Now you can roll away from yourself or toward yourself. It really doesn't matter. The slot will grab the edge of the paper, so you can put a little tension on it and wrap the layers evenly around. I use the blue 1/8 roller because I want my beads to freely slide around the curved wire. If I wanted a tighter fit, I could have easily used the red or green sizes for this project. When you get to the last 1/2 inch or so, grab your white glue and secure the end of the strip to the bead. You just need a little bit of glue, maybe a 1/2 inch from the end. To roll the cone-shaped paper beads, you'll use the exact same paper strips. All you have to do is, instead of lining the paper layers up in the center, you're going to move them to one side. So in this case, I am rolling that so that the edge of the paper is aligned at the top, and it automatically makes a cone. Glue the end down, and you're ready to go. It's time to glaze so that the paper beads become hard, durable, and water resistant. I'm using the Deco Arts Triple Thick. Now there are several methods for glazing, but I like to put the paper bead on a toothpick and just brush on the glaze. Be sure to cover the wide top of the bead well, because in this project there will be some stress on that area of the cone beads. Let the beads dry for 5 to 8 minutes and it will be ready for the second coat. 2 coats for each bead is usually enough. Cut a piece of wire long enough to form 2 petals. Now for my pendant, for this size, I cut the wire to about 5 inches long. The 4th step on this tool gives me about that 1/4 inch that I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to use it to make the round part of my petal. Just bend your wire into pretty much a candy cane shape. Now we'll put 7 of the round beads onto the wire. Now you can see here I'm bending the end of the wire outward just slightly. I mean, this is optional, but I found that it makes it easier to slide the wire into the other bead that's going to hold it. Bend the wire a little to form the petal shape, getting the short end as close to the other side as possible. Now we're going to slide the cone bead onto the wire, wide end first. It was very hard to get a good view on this because my fingers were in the way, so I'm sorry about that. But you're going to slide the short wire into the hole of the cone bead, right beside the wire that's already there. It's a little tricky because the beads get in the way, but you'll get it. Now eventually we're going to glue this in, but I recommend you wait until we're done, or you glue it and let it sit to dry for a while before you move on to the next petal. Make sure you straighten the wire so that it is directly off the end of the petal. Now this is important for making the finished flower look neat. We're going to make 2 more of these and then we'll put them all together. Okay, now that you've got the one side of each wire looking like a petal, we're going to go ahead and put them through the ornament center. So slide the centerpiece onto the wire and make that curve for the opposite petal. On this side, you're going to put your cone bead small side first, so opposite of what we did last time. Then add your 7 round paper beads. Now I'm not going to gloss over it. This side is tricky. Some of these petals went in very easily for me and some of them gave me issues. Bending the tip of the wire like I showed you can definitely help. I recommend that you leave some extra length on the wire right up until this point. Then only trim what is absolutely necessary. Leave yourself a little wiggle room so you make sure you have enough wire to get it into the cone bead and to stay securely. Now once both petals are secured, you can use your jewelry pliers to correct the shape of the petal if needed. Now at this point, you might want to secure the wires with a little bit of glue. Make sure that you let the glue dry before you work on the next petal or you're going to have a mess on your hands. Then you just repeat this process with your other 2 wires until all 6 petals are done. I'm sure you've already figured out that each petal gets a little harder to work with as your space becomes tighter. That's why I recommended gluing the wires in and letting them dry before continuing. I also recommend using the most flexible wire you can that will still hold its shape with the petal. I found that 16 gauge holds up well as a necklace, but it's also much more difficult to work with. 18 gauge is great to work with, but it will make the necklace more delicate. I've kind of landed on that as the wire I like to use for this project. Once the petal is done, your pendant is ready. Just add a jump ring to any petal and thread it on a chain. So I've been wearing this light colored necklace, but I decided the purple necklace makes the perfect rear view mirror ornament for my car. Don't forget you can grab all the supplies for this project over at paperbeadrollers.com. If you make this project, I'd love to see it over in the Paper Bead Fanatics Facebook group. Make sure you like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a tutorial. Happy rolling!